My dear friends, I hope you weren't followed to this rendezvous point, because this episode, we're doing something clandestine. We're talking about top secret. What we're talking about is top secret. Welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you. As you know, I'm your host, Clements, and on this channel, I provide role-playing game, movie reviews, dramatic readings, and I get to talk to interesting people. We're going to do an RPG review of the top secret module, The Drop. And what's inspired me to do this review? Well, back in 2024 at TotalCon, I got to play my very first game of Top Secret with Jason Elliott, one of the creative minds at Solarian Games. That puts out the modern version of Top Secret. And of course, Top Secret, we know from our dear friends Merle Rasmussen and Alan Hammock, has a long pedigree from when Merle made it and Alan helped him make it the best that it could be. So this is a decades-old role-playing game that I had only heard about and wanted to play, but hadn't done it till this point. Well, I had a great time in the game session Compromat. I thought the system was elegant. I thought the setting and genre was interesting. So after the game, I went and picked up some material. I got the rule book and I got this starter adventure, The Drop. And you might look at it and say, well, Stephen, that's nowhere near the size of the adventures that you normally talk about. How much is even going to be covered in this thing? I mean, it's a tiny book. And yeah, it's digest size, about 30 pages, large font, plenty of white space around, not an undue amount, but enough to where this isn't a hard read. It's actually a fast and easy read. And the scenario itself is not going to burn anybody's toe hairs. It's not going to win some award for creativity or legendary game design. But it's not intended to do that, the best I can tell. Instead, it's doing a very important mission that has been a major criticism of the modern incarnations of Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, this thing gives you a scenario you can run your characters through, but more importantly, it teaches the administrator, the guy running the game, the DM, the game master, how to do an important espionage adventure type. And that, my dear friends, is why I really wanted to tell you about this, because this is the kind of thing that Dungeons & Dragons used to do very well. Some games don't even attempt to try it. Some games make an intentional effort to help teach the people who are going to run the game how to do it. And I think this is critical for people to get the most out of your game. Show them how to have a good time with it. Because I tell you, my dear friends, whatever skill I have in running a game started with the basic Dungeons & Dragons black box set, because it took the time in a few different ways to handhold me through the process of how to actually run an adventure. It didn't just give me a bunch of instructions and say, go for it, or heaven forbid. It didn't do like 5th edition mega modules do of here's a couple hundred pages and what's at each location, but we're not going to take the time to help develop your skills and show and tell you how to make the most of a module. Regardless of the quality of the module, if the person running it doesn't know what they're doing through simple inexperience and lack of being taught how to do it, that's going to get in the way. But The Drop does a good job of it. So let me walk you through it. And I'm not going to put a spoiler warning this time because this is a very generic situation. Yes, there's some names and some factions assigned to the NPCs involved, but the template adventure here is set up to be so malleable that you can change any of the variables involved and have a brand new adventure. Plus, I'm not going to get deep in the weeds on this person's name, that person's specific objective, because that's not the big value I get out of this thing. So let's see how it sells itself. Well, on the back cover, we get a bunch of passport stamps, which tells us nothing. You have to go 3 pages into the module to get something that I think approximates the selling point, how to use the mission. This book serves 2 purposes. First, it's a quick standalone mission. You can easily run this without reading ahead and provide 1 to 4 hours of fun for your players. There are several options you can choose from during the mission to increase the complexity, consequences, and length of the mission. When it comes to the end, there are several options for following on adventuring. You can develop further scenarios yourself, or you may even be able to tie the drop into other missions by TSR, they like to go by Solarian Games these days, or third-party developers. The second purpose is to provide the administrator, top secret New World Order's term for game master, a reusable introduction for future missions. It's akin to you walk into the bar in most fantasy adventures. You can use it frequently to start the action because a great deal of spy adventures start with 2 bad actors exchanging something nefarious. You'll be given a framework on how to handle a drop and will be provided with a built-in example with options. Use this mission as a guide to sprinkle in your own campaign elements. If, for example, you'd rather use Russian agents as opposed to Iranian agents, or perhaps you have a recurring villain you'd like to sprinkle in, feel free to swap out any component. For that matter, the location is also changeable. If you have your agent in America or Australia or Germany, it doesn't matter. Do not feel confined by its concise content. The drop is easily fleshed out further to become a full-length mission, or even as the first pieces in a multi-chapter storyline. The Game Master should feel free to improvise should the situation call for it. The key objective is to keep the pace of the story flowing, and most importantly, to have fun. So what is the basic objective of the scenario? Well, it starts off with bottom line up front. A Belgian businessman is suspected of violating international sanctions by selling secrets to Iran. The agents must stake out the location of the drop to gather proof of the exchange. I like that. Short and concise. Gets right to the point. What's the purpose of this mission? Who's involved? What do the players need to do? Tells you what your expectations are going to be. In addition to gathering proof of the exchange, we're given ideas on what optional objectives could be to go along with it, like quietly apprehend the Belgian businessman afterwards, flip him into becoming a double agent, and recover the secrets from the Iranian agent that they got from the guy. So already, this module is telling you what all you could do with just that basic premise. And there's more ideas, obviously. But we're one page into actually talking about what the adventure is, and we've already gotten guidance on how we could develop our stories further. So the setup for the adventure is that the agents are located at their spy agency's London station, and that the team has received a high priority scramble alert, meaning to get to the headquarters so they can receive further instructions. And then we get the briefing the agents receive from their commanders, flavor text the NPCs provide to them, guidance on their mannerisms and how to roleplay them, and then explicit options are given for how the administrator could tailor this adventure to the experience they want to have. And we're going to see this throughout. Here's the basic thing that's required for the module, and then here's ideas on how you could expand on that. You can ignore all that optional material and just go with the basic guidelines and have a good time. But it's already pinging the administrator's mind what they could do differently and how they can tailor this to fit their tastes. There's a timetable of events showing when the agents receive the briefing, when they should move out, when they should set themselves up for the projected meeting, and when the key NPCs move into position, which is incredibly helpful in a game where timelines make sense. If you miss a meeting, that might be your only opportunity to do it. If you miss the window to take a shot on a key target, you may never get that shot again. So in espionage games, it's being emphasized to us that timing is important, very realistic. We get plenty of details on the targets, different ideas of what to do with them, what they'll do in certain situations, and we get some pretty okay art, some of it far better than the rest. We get details on the park where the drop is going to take place, and basic details that the administrator might need should the players ask, hey, can I hide behind this? What's the vantage point from that? Can I be concealed from over here? We get guidance on how to use the skill checks in a very easy to understand way. And that was one of the strengths I found in the one session I played. The system was elegant and flexible while satisfying at the same time. And so in the spirit of hand-holding a person new to running Top Secret NWO, this module reinforces how you resolve challenges. And speaking of skill checks, in addition to giving the details of the park itself, the module gives several ideas on which skill checks would apply to different tactics the players want to take, such as if a player asks, what's the best spot I could take? And it tells you how to do it. Intellect plus human plus a D10 because the park is worth a die type in and of itself. And if the combination of those die rolls adds up to 13 or better, you succeed. What if a player wants to plant a bug near where they expect the NPCs to make the handoff? Well, that'd be intellect plus human plus a decision die based on the difficulty presented by the chosen hiding place. So if it's inconspicuous, it'll be a higher die. If it's very conspicuous, it's going to be a much lower die, making your chances of hitting 13 or better harder. You want to blend into the background and appear inconspicuous so you can listen in on your own. That would be suave plus human plus a D8 decision die. Then we get the details on the arrival of the targets, both the Iranian agents and the Belgian businessman. And if I may, I want to point out that choosing a Belgian businessman was a great idea because no one likes the Belgians. So no one's going to be sympathetic to this guy. Iranians, maybe yes, maybe no. Just depends on your side of the political divide. But nobody likes the Belgians, even the Belgians. We get told what the actions each key NPC is going to take to get to the rendezvous point, and then we get the details of what they'll do by default, assuming the players don't interfere, and how they'll proceed from this location to go about their business. Well, as the exchange says, there are many ways in which this can go down, and after playing through events leading up to the exchange, refer to the text below, because the player's actions make a big difference in what happens from here. So if all goes as planned, that means the agents stood back, gathered intel, and let the exchange happen, because that's what their basic mission was. The Belgian goes back to his car and then to his hotel. The Iranians get in a van and leave with their information. Now, if the agents attempt to apprehend the Belgian on his way out, there's a chance that the Belgian's going to notice them, and then you get the dice combination to see if he succeeds. What happens if he does notice them? He flees towards the nearest subway station. But if he thinks he can't get away no matter what, he'll quietly surrender to the agents and hope no further conflict comes of it. Well, what if the agents get spotted or the agents are made? Well, the Iranian team takes different tactics depending on how they discovered them. One thing's for certain, the Iranians will quietly tell each other through small wireless devices concealed in their ears that they found troublemakers. And as a matter of fact, the Iranians might go ahead and off the Belgian with a sniper that they've got hiding around just to make sure that he can't roll on them. The non-sniper agents will run for cover and all hell can break loose. Which is bad in a covert mission. You don't want all hell breaking loose in a park next to Buckingham Palace. Now, what if the agents aren't detected, but they choose to engage anyway? They get a free round to act before the sniper kicks into gear, and it gives guidance on how to play him. And it says otherwise, all goes as above in the agents are made section. So even little deviations can lead back to each other, and it's telling you how that can do that without repeating the same text and taking up a lot more space that you could get lost in. Now, what if the agents call for backup for whatever reason? Well, we get options on how that can go, who shows up, what they do, and what are the ramifications for it. What if all hell breaks loose and the police show up? Well, it tells you how long it's going to take for them to get there, what they're going to do when they get there, and what happens if the agents get involved with the police. Because killing the police is bad. The agents are cautioned to, when confronted with law enforcement, go with them, go sit in the pokey for a little while, and someone will pull the strings to get you out. However, that means they had to burn resources and goodwill to do that. And you've shown up on somebody's radar, which is not what you want in a spy. So that's not good. Keep the popo away. And then, of course, it acknowledges other situations, because the above options of how this could go are but a few of the occurrences that might take place during such an operation. Player characters are wildly unpredictable and could come up with all kinds of options that weren't presented here, but they wanted to give you a good selection of how things could go and ideas of how to handle different escalations, and coaches you use this reference material to help deal with unforeseen events. And speaking of unforeseen events, we get quite a few complications that you can add in if you want to. If you want to make things not go perfectly smoothly, if you want to make things more interesting. And some of these have me laughing pretty good, like the field trip. A group of children have moved into the area just as the deal is going down. This could be a school group, church group, or maybe Girl Guides, the British Girl Scouts. And this causes a lot of innocents to suddenly be in danger. They might even be in the way of the agent's focus, requiring the player character to quickly relocate to get a picture of the exchange. A flock of birds could take flight all of a sudden, getting in the way, providing concealment for fleeing targets. Well, if a constable wanders up at just the wrong time, what if your cover gets blown because some random person in the park walks up and is like, "Hey, it's you! How nice to see you!" And then they're distracting you, they could blow your cover, and they could give you away to the Iranians, who would instantly open fire, thinking that the Belgian has set them up. Now, what if a third party is involved? Another agency, another government, or someone else looking to get the plans that the Belgian has for themselves? That could complicate things. And obviously there's more complications you could add into it, but I like that they gave you a variety of environmental, animal, and people complications that you could add in. It's good guidance. And then we get to the aftermath. Guidance on what happens next because of what happened during the action. Was it a clean mission? Did the agents get in and out, do exactly what they were told, and weren't found? Well, that goes well. They earn the respect of their boss, and they get a raise in reputation, which we'll talk about again later. Did they get a hold of the Belgian, and did they flip him to be a double agent? Well, here's skill challenges that could help facilitate that, depending on how the PCs decide to do the approach. Are they intimidating or threatening him? Use nerve plus human plus a decision die for the character doing it. Are they trying to flatter, charm, or convince him to join their side? Well, that's going to be suave plus human plus a decision die. Now, if an interrogation gets involved, you do need to go to the core rule book, which is good because that's telling you where you could go for more information. So what if the Iranians got a hold of the data, got out, and now your agency wants the player characters to get it back? Well, here's ideas of how they could follow the Iranians, where they went, and who they would need to look for to follow up on that. What if, as a result of the mission, the Iranian big boss shows up? What complications could come from that? And they even give you ideas that perhaps this scenario leads to a rooftop chase or a car chase through Calais, and maybe even a boat chase. So they really like their action here, and I dig it. What if the Belgian got away? Well, how do you find him? Where does he run to ground? Well, here's an idea of where he could go. What if the Belgian was in fact a double agent already working for the French? Does he wind up dead after the exchange because the French decided he had served his purpose? And if he does wind up dead, who did the deed? How do you find her? And what are the complications that could come from that? What if the team decided that violence was the answer to their questions? Well, a lot of things get messy, and here's ideas of how to deal with that. We get a couple more ideas, and obviously the unpredictable outcome, because players are well known for their unpredictability. So we gave you some ideas of where this could go. Good luck to you, and never be afraid to show a little unpredictability of your own is what they say. And that's good guidance. It gives plenty of ideas and options for what the administrator running the game can do, and says, well, the players are unpredictable, but you can be too. So feel free to mix and match any of the options and the ideas that we gave you to come up with a new idea of how to deal with the players' actions. But also remember, Tiger, you're the man. You got this. And since this is an espionage game, we get a cool list of equipment that the players might want to help with their stakeout and spying effort. And this is just a truncated assortment sampled from the core rulebook, which you could check out for more. And really, this is a good point for me to bring up. You don't actually need the core rulebook to run this module. You could just run this module with very little work, I think, in order to give a good introductory experience for the players. So there's another strength of this thing. And then we get to the mission points. So mission points are awarded at the end of the adventure based on the results, creativity, problem solving, and style with which each player character completes the mission. These point rewards are presented as a guideline for the administrator. You may adjust as needed if you prefer a faster or slower rate of advancement within the game. So again, good guidance to someone new to the system. And then you get a column for achievements and the corresponding number of mission points that players should be awarded for having achieved those achievements. Did you go on the mission? You get a point. Did you complete the mission? You get 2 points. Did you get proof of the exchange? There's 2 points. Did you capture either the Iranians? Well, depending on their relative importance, you get mission points. Did you get the data they were there to receive? That's a point. Did you flip the Belgian? Well, that's worth a handsome 2 points right there. So those are mission points that help you advance as a character. Now, what about reputation points? Those are earned or lost based on an agent's behavior during the mission, and it tells you where to go in the core rulebook to get additional information about that. But a high reputation character is not going to go around spraying and praying everybody to achieve their missions. Such a bull in a china shop will quickly get turfed out of the espionage agency that they're hired to serve. But if you do it with class, panache, and plausible deniability, that's going to speak well for you. And we see some similar entries here. Which actions did you take and how many reputation points does that get you? So the more proof you have of the exchange and the Iranian agents that you captured gets you quite a few reputation points. Now, if you wind up in jail, you wounded a police officer, you killed a police officer, or if a shootout happened at all, even if you weren't directly responsible for it, those are all dings on your reputation because it shows you're not a smooth operator. And then we get NPC write-ups. We get the Belgian. We get the Iranian agents, including the big boss, who does not directly appear in this module, but we do have an example of what an espionage chief might look like. And then we get a glossary and notes section, which I found helpful. It unpacks some of the terms that were given in the book that you might not already be familiar with, both terms that apply to the top secret New World Order game, as well as those staples of espionage, such as chicken feed. Well, the definition of that is intelligence agencies will sometimes allow genuine information to fall into the hands of rivals. It may be deliberately selected as a way for a double agent to establish their bona fides with a foreign power, or allowed to be passed on as a tactical decision. Well, that's a term I didn't know, but it makes a heck of a lot of sense. And in the world of espionage, that could be useful. Finally, at the back, we get a nice map of the park in question and the surrounding areas, including 2 royal palaces. So making a shootout happen next to 2 royal palaces, probably not good. Now, you can get away with machete attacks in modern London, but not gunfights. And finally, at the back, we get a full credits page. We see the original concept and mission was by Chad Parrish. We got additional material and editing by Jason Elliott and Peter Bryant. We get the illustrators who did a mixed job. And we got art direction and layout by Jason Elliott again. and then technical and editorial consulting by Scott Congable and Nick Seidler. Now, the editing isn't perfect because early in the book we get a reference to TSR as a company, and then at the back we're talking about Solarian Games. And there's a couple misspellings. It could have been a little bit tighter here and there, but these are very minor quibbles. This is a very easy to read, easy to digest, and easy to use game book. So for achieving that mission, it gets all the reputation and mission points from me. So even if you never played Top Secret New World Order, I recommend you take a look at The Drop, because I found that it helped me think about, how do I structure a scenario? How do I take a basic premise and then build on it? What are different factors I should think about to make it my own and to make it interesting? So The Drop is available on Solarian's website, along with their other games and Top Secret New World Order products. And like I mentioned, I bought this at a con, so if you go to a con, chances are somebody somewhere is selling Top Secret products. So what did you think? Have you played Top Secret New World Order before? Have you played an older version of it? Have you played The Drop or other modules? Let me know how that went in the comments. I'd be interested to hear about your experiences. Do you have any other products that you think are great for a new DM or a new administrator to teach them the ropes of how to run the game? I'm always interested to find more of those. So my dear friends, hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, I wish you nothing but the best.